All right. So, hello, everybody. I have my friend Donis here with me. Where do you live in Pennsylvania, right?
Freedom, Pennsylvania.
Freedom, Pennsylvania. So, one thing I want to do today is Donis has a lot of experience with muscle testing, and I wanted to do kind of have a conversation about muscle testing for the newbies, the people who are trying to figure this out, from a different perspective because everybody's different. How I stepped into muscle testing and do it is going to be different than other people. Some of the fundamental philosophies are always the same, but the application of that is always different. So tell me a bit, Donis, I know you work with clients yourself. Um, how long ago did you start doing muscle testing? What is the first thing that caught your attention and you were like, this might be super cool?
I was introduced to muscle testing through necessity, and I've been very thankful that I had that opportunity to learn about it at a time that I needed it in my personal life. I had had a situation that I would term uh, heartbreak in an emotional level in 2004, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I let toxic emotions begin to just create almost a stewing effect inside of my body,
Mm,
and developed a lot of allergies and chemical sensitivities. I started becoming allergic to most everything in my that I came in contact with, and a doctor was practicing a chiropractor, and he was practicing with applied kinesiology muscle testing in his practice, and we began on a journey, he and I together, and to learn what I was allergic to. And that's where I first learned about muscle testing, was in 2004. And it came, fortunately for me, it came very easy. It came very easy for me to learn that. I didn't resist it. I was so thankful to have something that started to show me things
yeah.
that it should have or shouldn't
So
have.
why do you think it was easy for you? Because it's not easy for everybody.
No, it isn't, and I'm not exactly sure. Some of it is our design. I believe that everyone has the ability to muscle test.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Part of it is that our culture doesn't encourage that type of belief system, if you will.
Sure.
Uh, and so I do believe that there is a season now that it's being revealed as truth. And it is almost a God given sense that we have, similar to seeing, hearing, uh, touching. I do believe that it is another sensory panel within us that we can utilize, that makes life better. I mean, it really does
Yeah.
make it better.
Absolutely. So what for you, um, how do you muscle test? And have you only used one technique or have you played around with a bunch of different techniques?
I've played around with a bunch of techniques. When I first learned, I learned by a practitioner who used the arm.
Arm
That
thing. So,
is
so
similar.
for people who are watching, that's a very common thing where you go to a practitioner and the practitioner will test you. And typically you're holding your arm out and they put about 2 pounds of pressure for 2 seconds, right? And see
Yeah,
if you go weak or strong. Often they'll hold, either they'll touch different parts of your body or they may hold supplements up against you. And so uh, it's a team effort. So that is the technique that Dr. David Hawkins uses with his partner. Oh, he's passed away, but um, that's the technique he personally used. So you have to use two people, which is
yes,
cool, but you got to have two people who are kind of on the same page, and
yes.
it's not very fast. And after a while, you get tired of holding your arm out, so you can't do a lot, but it's a good place to start sometimes. I'm not very good at it, honestly. I never.
Mm-mm. I've never been very good at that particular type myself, but it was intriguing to me. And again, I responded so well to it that I started doing research and then I started doing the just standing forward back. And again, that was cumbersome because wherever you were like, okay, do I go forward? Do I go back? Whatever.
So it's
So
called we call that the sway test.
yes, wait.
So you stand, eyes closed, you relax. Something that's true makes you kind of go, you slowly, after a bit, you feel yourself moving forward. Something is false. You kind of, sometimes you go back and forth a bit till your body finally goes, and back is false or no. So go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. And so from there, the ring test for me now seems to be super simple. So, you know, the index finger to the thumb, and then use the other index finger thumb. You ask the question, it opens for no, and it stays tightly, tightly closed for yes. That seems to work well. And then since meeting you, I've been learning, I've been practicing with the technique that you use, and find that there's going to be even easier ways for me to muscle test. But again, I believe every person has as unique as your thumbprint is the uniqueness of your style of muscle testing that your body responds to, if you will, easiest, best, most accurate.
Yeah. So
Um,
I think for the big thing for people to understand is just pay attention. Like I was teaching my son how to muscle test, and he watched me go from using a muscle testing stick to kind of squeezing my hand and watching my breath. When I do that very lightly, I notice in the muscles for my swallowing and breathing. He actually noticed how different, how his hand felt different for yes or no, which is
yes.
interesting. Like it doesn't work that way for me.
Mhm.
Again, so unique. So it doesn't have to work for you the way it works for everyone else. It's just you just pay attention, and that's how I developed the technique that I'm currently using. Is I was using a different technique, with a muscle testing stick that
Mhm.
I would. But while I was doing the muscle testing stick, I'm like, I need a different technique. So I try to pay very close attention to my entire physiology. If I could notice something that was different between a yes or a no, in addition to what I already felt of how far apart I can pull the stick with a very specific effort. And that's where I notice, oh, wait, like I feel this thing here differently. So,
And I've even had a season where my skin would reflect a yes or no by the face heating up if it's not good, so it would be like almost an alert that would be noticed in my physical body temperature. So like I said, every person has their own ability and style, if you will. And I think even someone that possibly would be maybe in their bed with an illness, and you think, well, I can't move. I feel like that God will meet them where they are to let them learn the things that are good for them and that are not, because that's what He wants for us, is for our good.
absolutely. What challenges have you had with your muscle testing? Have you had any hangups? Have you ever questioned it? Um, what has made you better at doing it now than you used to be?
When I finally accepted it as valid and a valid gift to me. The world says no in many circumstances. And I struggled with the world not accepting it. And
Yeah.
others around me.
So when you say world, you're talking more of a Christian environment that would look on that as a little sketchy, or also slash very intellectual people who are like, where's the double blind study on that? That's not science. Blah blah blah.
Actually that would be both,
Yeah.
because of my Christian belief system would say no to this. Okay, but then I also have a lot of medical family in the allopathic Western medicine fields, and I
Yeah.
honor and respect that totally. And they're the ones that are like, that probably isn't accurate. And I'm like, well, the wise men made it to the manger some way. So there you
Yeah. Well, for people who are in that situation, I think the book The Power of Eight um, has some very interesting studies on double-blind university level studies on the power of intention and different things like that, which is kind of an ecstatic state, which I think muscle testing very much taps into. And that's the book is by Lynn McTaggart, but she was open yet very skeptical. Did multiple double-blind studies with many different universities, with groups of people using the power of intention and different things like that. And although that's slightly different than muscle testing, really what we're talking about is energetically everything being connected, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And now there are actually many of my family members that they didn't actually intend to learn to muscle test, but they will pick up a food or a supplement, and their body, they have watched me long enough that they'll go, oh, that's not a good brand for me, or oh, that's not a good choice for me today.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
yeah,
And once, sometimes I think of one very simple example. It's like you take the Amazon rainforest, for example, and you have someone like the people who live there, they know that this one thing works for this issue. And it's like, okay, hold on, think about that. How many potential issues can you have, and how many plants are in the forest? Statistically, what's the chance of you just, oh, I accidentally happened to find it one day? It's like, it's goofy high. It's just like ridiculously high. Not possible, right?
yeah,
Statistically, totally ridiculous. Well, how is it? It's like, what happens if God gave your body an intrinsic, good, bad feeling, and you're like, ooh, I think I'd like to try this plant this way, And it's like,
mhm,
then that
mhm.
makes total sense that you're actually created to take advantage of the quantum physics world we live in. So,
Right. And I think that generations have done this before us. It just maybe
oh,
wasn't
absolutely.
termed the same way. The person that discovered oat straw tops were beneficial to the skin, they didn't have a double blind study to tell them that that's true. However, it's very effective. So,
Yeah.
so they had
There you go.
somewhere.
Well, what other advice would you have for the new person? They're like, okay, I want to learn this muscle testing thing, but it seems overwhelming and difficult to me. Any advice for them?
I would encourage them to continue on the journey to learn, to be gentle with themselves, and to begin to trust themselves. Many parts of our culture take away our design to trust our own intuitions, and so I just really encourage my clients to continue trusting that they do have everything within themselves that they need for the season of life that they're walking through.
Awesome. Very good advice. Well, we'll be doing a lot more of these videos in the future, continue to encourage people to move forward and practice it. And we're going to stop this recording, and we're actually going to do a session for you, which will be available to the mentoring level, on working through some things, giving people very practical hands-on examples of how to use this at a little higher level. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate you.